I can't remember an atmosphere in this ground. Now maybe I'm being biased because of this awful 18 months we had, but I cannot remember being in this ground in a game and with that kind of an atmosphere for a long time, for a long, long time. There's only 25,000 here. You know, can you imagine if it had been at capacity? But the crowd got behind Ireland, they galvanised them, and we surged forward. It wasn't brilliant, it wasn't laden with quality, but it was, you know, it was what we did. We always do well. We found an answer. You know, we found an answer. Now it was an OG, whereby I can't remember who the player was. I think it
came off Milenkovic, the number 4.
Yeah, it was buried off Milenkovic at point blank range, but it came from pressure.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Omabama deadly strike,
yes.
which was a wonder strike. Absolutely, you know, 25 yards out, keepers had to pull a save out, a top drawer. Now look at, let's not brush over it. Bazunu, top notch. I mean, world class goalkeeping expedition, pulled off probably 4 or 5 top class saves.
Yeah.
But look, that's his job. That's what he's there for. You can work on that.
Well, look, let's focus on him first, because listen, Gavin Bazunu, he's winning his 7th cap tonight. He's just 19 years of age. Manchester City goalkeeper, signed from Shamrock Rovers a couple of seasons ago. He's been sent out on loan to Portsmouth, where he's kept 3 clean sheets in his first 4 matches. And he's been absolutely magnificent here tonight. And whatever about his, I'm just seeing him getting interviewed here after the game as well, as he was over in Portugal. And whatever about his performances after the match as well, when he spoke again after the Portugal game, he just sounds like a fellow who's had 30 or 40 caps under his belt.
Yeah.
And he shows that on the pitch as well. He's just so cool, calm and collected. It would be so easy for a young goalkeeper of his age, a teenager, just to crumple under that kind of pressure tonight against Serbia, but he didn't.
Yeah, I think it was the array of saves, Stephen, for me. You know, so good with his hands, left and right hand side, excellent on the ground, always good with his feet, so composed. He'll take the ball in any position, and if he's under pressure, he'll clear it. But then, of course, it was the point blank stuff, the 1v1 situations where there was 2 or 3 of them where we looked like we were in real trouble, and he making himself big, saving with his feet. It got to the stage where I was actually quite comfortable for us to go forward, because you're kind of thinking he'll save it.
Yeah.
You know, he's in that form. He just looked like he was filling the whole goal.
And as well as that,
that's not the way to play, of course. You know, but it was just the occasion that was in it. You know, I'm delighted that we went 1-0 down. We recovered. We kind of got ourselves back into the game through a mix of good play and will. But then, even when we were struggling in the second half, we still went looking for that equaliser. And then when we got the equaliser, we went looking for the winner. You know, and that's key as well, I think, and I think that's why we've seen such a positive reaction from Stephen Kenny and the players. And I personally felt there didn't seem to be an ounce of negativity in the ground tonight. I don't know how you felt. Didn't hear anyone moaning or groaning. I just thought they wanted to get behind the team and try and push this project forward.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's go back to the start of the game, Stewie, because it was such a bright start by Ireland. They shipped a bit of pressure for the first 5 to 7 minutes, but then they started to grow into the game, and I suppose the main catalyst for that was Jeff Hendrick, who put on one of the best 45 minutes we've seen from him since that game against Sweden. That people always talk about, that we never see him kind of reproducing what he did in Paris that time against Sweden in Euro 2016. And as well as that, James McLean, who has come in for an awful lot of criticism this week because of his performance against Azerbaijan. Some people saying that he's a beaten duck, that he needs to be left out of the team, but his deliveries tonight, his crosses were brilliant. So those 2 players in particular really were fantastic for in that first half.
Yeah, I was worried first 10 minutes, Stephen. Serbia looked like they really started the game on the front foot. They were full of energy. They were squeezing Ireland. You could see they wanted to put us under pressure, because they felt we're not good enough to play in pressurised situations. So I was worried that in that first 10 minutes we couldn't get out, and then it took Jeff Hendrick get the ball 20 yards out, 2 players on his back, and you know, wonderful awareness, a little spin, loses the first man and avoids the second tackle, and then all of a sudden it was like a catalyst for everybody else. It kind of gave him huge confidence then, and from then on in he was getting on the ball, he was surging forward with us. Now look, Serbia were coming at us as well. There was quality for them. The point I'm trying to get across is that at times when we had opportunity to play and break forward, I think we did that, and we did that really, really well. You rightly point out McLean. He certainly has played well tonight. Just kind of full of endeavour, full of energy. His crossing was definitely better than it has been in the past. But look, it's just there are certain things in the game which I think are important to kind of maybe point out to those who are struggling to kind of understand what Stephen Kenny's trying to do here. And I would go back to our kickouts, with Bazunu, playing it to Shane Duffy, and us being, comfortable within that sort of whole penalty area of the box, even despite the fact that you've got 4 or 5 Serbians squeezing us up high. We're trying to pass it out, and we've now got players that are actually comfortable in that position. Shane Duffy, I made my point in the commentary, he wouldn't have done that 2 years ago. The goalkeeper wouldn't have done it 2 years ago. No one would have dropped short 2 years ago. And if you continue to do that, and you continue to try and coach these players to do that, it will come. We look at Adam Ida tonight, probably showed for the first time a little bit of naivety in his experience at playing up centre forward, but he's only going to get better and better. And I think it goes for a lot of the players. Like, he's 19 years of age. When I was 19 years of age, I was playing in the Bows reserve team, and it took me 3 or 4 years. And I know, people will certainly text in and say, well, you weren't good enough, and so on and so forth. But it happens. Top level players need to be coached. They don't just become. It's the top players that at 19 or 20 maybe can do it, but. You have to develop as a player. It takes time, it takes coaching, it takes consistency, and you have to be playing week in, week out, and it will come. So, I just feel that I'm not saying tonight vindicates anything.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that at all.
Well, I think we're at the stage now where we have to stop drawing big conclusions from.
We have to get real about what it is we're trying to do here. We don't have the players coming through. We've had little or no investment in the game here at grassroots for forever. And I'd only wish people would see the investment that goes into the game in other countries. Serbia would be a very good example of it. We were talking about this at half time, and I've experienced this anytime I've ever played in Europe. These guys come out of the womb with their chest out there. They think that they've been told they're the dogs, whatever.
It's the Serbian players
right from the get-go. They're being told you are the best thing in the world, and they play like that.
Yeah.
And
that's something basically Stephen Kenny is trying to instill in his players now.
Confidence,
that confidence,
belief,
in themselves. They were a brilliant team. Serbia,
excellent.
People have said they're a nation that have underachieved over the last number of years.
Yeah.
You look at all the talent they have there in the team: Vlahovic, Mitrovic, Tadic, Milinkovic, Savic, Kostic, such brilliant players. Lukijovic, Real Madrid player coming off the bench. So there was always that concern, maybe a little bit on edge, and I think Ireland maybe definitely for the first part of the second half they struggled a bit to get into the game. Serbia just took control, they calmed things down, but then took little opportunities when they had them. So I suppose that's something that you must praise this Irish performance for as well, that they kept them down to 1 goal for that period of time.
Yeah, and thanks to the goalkeeper, I have to say, and some last-ditch defending. But you know what? That's what it's there for. I think if Ireland had parked the bus here in the second half, we just wouldn't have gotten out. It's as simple as that. And we probably wouldn't have gotten the goal opportunities that we got, and we probably wouldn't have gotten the goal. There were times in the game where we had to kind of change the dynamic, especially in that second half, to try and get us further up the pitch and get ourselves into goal scoring opportunities. And the substitutions did that for me. Probably been critical in the past of Stephen, maybe making substitutions too late at the wrong time, bringing on the wrong players. But I think they all came at the right time here. Bringing on Callum Robinson, 57 minutes, no hanging around. Looked like Brown was in a bit of trouble, wasn't he? His fullback was getting in his face, that got him booked. Make a change. Malumbi, bring him on. Perfect game for him. A little bit of that, go around, start smacking a few people, make a nuisance. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it's the little differences. And it was able to just to allow us to kind of maybe get out of a little bit of a rut that we were in the second half, get us up the pitch, and ultimately the goal came.
I have to say I'm energised after this performance. I'm energised by the results. We could talk about this all night, but we are coming towards the end. But just to cap it off, Stewie, it is the end of the international window. After some of the discussions that went on after Saturday, such negativity and talk about Kenny's job being on the line, which just seemed a bit silly at this stage. it's so important that he goes out on this high note, and he went out there, took the adoration of the crowd, but that there's not going to be all these, lengthy discussions until the next international break, all about Stephen Kenny's job, this, that, and the other. People can take heart from this performance tonight.
I think so. Yeah, I think there needs to be clearer communication, to be honest with you, Stephen, especially from the association. I mean, reading the programme notes tonight and listening to John Hill talking about, a 2022 to 2025 roadmap. You know, they're still listening to people, to stakeholders, and over the next 3 months. And do you know what? Come out and be a little bit clearer, will you? Like, come on, because the problem is now it's just creating division everywhere. And regardless, do you know what? Regardless of whether Stephen Kenny's in the hotspot, or Pep Guardiola or whatever, we need a plan to go forward, because we want to change. And I think it's fair to say we want to change how we approach games and how we play, and that there has to be a collective understanding around that. And it's a bit divisive at the moment, and it's not helping anybody.